computer. Excellent. All right. So, hello, Milla. It's finally like nice to actually
Hello.
coordinate with you after 12 minutes of figuring this out. So, everyone, this is Milla. Am I saying it properly? Milla Kozak?
Yes, Milla Kozak.
Milla Kozak. And Milla is an advocate for sustainability in fashion and everyday life. She creates content that explains the significance of people's choices on both the world around us and our health. And I know that, Milla, you do environment, fashion, food, lifestyle, and you're also vegan. So is there anything else you'd like to add to
I,
these amazing titles?
I can't call myself 100% vegan. I always answer that I am 80, 90%. I never cook animal products at home, but once in a while I'll eat meat. And that's why I tell my followers I'm an advocate for reducing consumption. And I really love my vegan friends, but I am not, I can't call myself vegan. I'm sorry.
Mm. Apologies. I saw it in
Yeah.
your title, so that's why I was like, okay, got it, got it. Okay. So thank you for that clarification. But for your thing overall, it's on reducing consumption. Like that
Yeah,
is
yes. And I believe that's the way to do it, because I feel like before, if you tell people to go vegan, they're like, I'm not gonna do it. So and eventually, some people, when you tell them to reduce consumption, they take it much better and they go farther than that, and then become plant based. I know a lot of people that started with like just reducing consumption, and then they kind of got used to it and they felt the benefits on their health. And it's just not just about you, it's about animal well-being and health of the planet. So I saw people going from just reducing slowly consumption to going fully vegan. So
yeah, no, I think you've hit on an interesting point that, a lot of people they feel like, it's like immediate immediate no when
exactly,
confronted with
exactly.
things. And so although it's the truth and it's shocking, unfortunately, people will tend to like push away from that. And so for some people they're able to get on board, but that's not many people right away. But it is something about understanding that
Mhm.
it's not necessarily like for some people they can break that, but for some people it's like you can do it in stages. And I
Yeah.
don't know this technique since we're talking about consumption. I also like the way I explain it to my students is like where I teach at university is like you don't
Mhm.
have to do everything at once. Like for example, when I
Yeah.
run out of my toothpaste, when I have my last toothbrush, like the new
Mhm.
thing that I buy or the new thing that I do, that's when I research, I switch it up one thing at a time so that it doesn't seem like this mountain and then it feels
Yeah.
unattainable. It's not possible to change.
Yeah, same with the sustainable lifestyle in general. If you tell people reduce this, reduce that, and change yourself overnight, it's not a right strategy if you want to actually achieve big goals when it comes to sustainability or reducing animal product consumption and all that. I think telling people to reduce slowly consumption is the way to go. And I feel like if billions of people or millions of people would just reduce their consumption, it would make a huge difference, right, for everybody and for health of the planet.
You're so right because I say this all the time too that like it's reduce, reuse, recycle, not the other way around. People think recycling is like, oh, I'm doing good things. And it's like recycling should be the last option. And only
Yeah.
90% of things get recycled anyway. And then people have this myth on composting.
Mm-hmm.
It's like just because it's made of compost, if it doesn't go to a proper composting garden or a place, it's not getting oil and soil and oxygen to decompose. It's adding to the trash. And most composting places can't accept the composting products because there's not enough testing done on whether it's okay for the soil or for that garden or not. So it's like this myth, and people will always be like, oh, I'm just putting it in the trash or the recycle and it's fine. And it's like you don't even know that the government kind of
Well,
this thing on like making
a
recycling.
lot of yeah, a lot of it is a marketing campaign by these companies, right, that produce plastic, for example. Now I know that it's a big scam because plastic recycling never worked and never will work because it doesn't make any financial sense. It's much cheaper to produce virgin plastic than to recycle old plastic. So, but it was made up as a marketing campaign for consumers to keep using plastic because we don't feel bad about using it. So they win, planet loses.
Exactly. And it's all about comfort and ease, right? And once people get used to that one-time use, plastics, one-time throwaways, people don't even think twice. It's just like, it's there, just,
Yeah,
use and throw away. And so,
convenient.
exactly. And so, like, reduce. People really have a hard time with just reuse is the second one, which people also have a hard time, but just reducing is the one I think that for people, at least in more, modern, like cultures or Western cultures, I feel like really just, this idea of reducing is not as easy, I think.
Well, that's how our system is built on consuming more, not reducing.
I mean, that's capitalism, right? Like the more you take for you. So, is there like, I mean, I wanted to ask you your background and your story. I know we talked a little bit before, but like, I loved how you were saying when we talked that, you were like, before I was like doing this with all my friends and all my people, and then how your journey went from you doing it on your own to taking it to social media because your videos, if you haven't seen our videos, they're fantastic. So yeah, like
So I little backstory about me. I'm originally from Ukraine. I moved to the US in 2006, so a long time ago. I was always into healthy eating and, healthier ways of living and exercising. And because it was always my interest, I would read every book that's related to it, and I would watch every documentary, and slowly but steady I got into documentaries about fast fashion and books about sustainability, and I learned the word sustainability. And education is the key. That's why I really make a point on educating people on the social media, because if you don't know the harms of plastic or fast fashion, because the companies don't want you to know it, they will hide it from you. They don't want you to see the end of the product. So that's how, just by educating myself on it, I got more and more involved in it, and I think I just got to the point of obsession, and I started learning more on sustainable fashion brands. And 7 8 years ago there was pretty much none. So to even see the progress since then and now, I know we are slowly moving in the right direction, because now everybody knows the word sustainability, and it's a buzzword, and a lot of companies are using for greenwashing, but we are moving in the right direction. So slowly but steady, I was always on my friends with the conversations about sustainability, and somebody said, like, why don't you just start posting it on the social media to let it all out, because I had anxiety about it. And so by just writing it down and making posts about it and kind of educating people, it made me feel like I am doing something about these big issues. Global warming is one of them. So during the COVID, I think a lot of people started these blogs. A lot of people that I know started sustainability blogs, and I was one of them. And so here I am.
no, and I think you said something really important. Sustainability is a buzzword, and
Yeah.
greenwashing is happening. And before I ask you your question, I was going to say that like sustainability is also so interesting because if we look at indigenous cultures around the world, they've always been sustainable. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like they're way
Right.
life, the way their interactions with the planet have always been sustainable. And of course, when the colonizers came all over the world in different areas, they were like, "Oh, this is savage, uncivilized, uncouth. It's not the right way to be. This is like not the way." And then after capitalizing off of things, all these years later, now people are talking about sustainability, and it's like these people were already doing sustainable things with the land, and now you
Yeah.
to like make this new buzzword type thing, and it's very interesting, how there have been sustainable ways, and in terms
Yeah.
of fashion specifically, right? And so please, let's get into greenwashing, because so many people don't know, because I love that you did this in one of your videos. It's one of my favorites, and I talk about this with my students too. Is you were going through the if the tags on clothes said what they were made of or how they were made, like if you looked at the tag and it would say PFAs, or made from child labor, or dumping toxins
Yeah.
in water.
Like cigarettes, like cigarettes have, right? The warnings on the labels.
Exactly, the warnings on the label. Because if they actually, which is what they should do, first of all, these shouldn't even be they shouldn't even be allowed to pass. And even if they were to be, I mean, the list of what they actually do, if that was on stuff, I mean, people wouldn't touch anything. People wouldn't
Yeah.
buy, you know? So please,
Exactly. And these companies, huge companies, they do a great job just not letting you know everything, and greenwashing. Yeah, they will hire ambassadors with the loud names like Kardashians or something like that, and it's all just marketing. But if you see the company produces huge amount of clothing, it's already a big sign that they're not sustainable.
it's all in the math, right? Like you can look on how much they're producing, what they're making, what damage that possibly is doing to the planet. Do you know any companies, more ethical companies that have certifications? Are there certifications that you look for that, like, oh, if it says it's this certification, or if they're like this, that's usually better? Is there anything like that that you know of? Or you're just kind of like, not so much, you kind of have to just do a lot of research to find the more ethical companies?
I usually go to for that. Good on You app is an excellent app where you go and you type in any fashion brand, and it will give you a sustainability report. That's all they do. And they've done a great job over the years, and they always have a list of companies that they recommend, and they have the whole like rating. Great app. Good on You.
Okay.
So
Okay, I'm not doing that emoji, by the way. That's happening all by itself. So I don't know what is happening.
I didn't.
But oh, it was like a little thumbs up emoji. And I'm like, I don't know when that's coming. That's all. My laptop is doing its own thing. But what was the name of the site? I wanted to get the name again.
Called Good on You, and it's app. It's a website and it's app. So that I go there to verify most of the companies, and uh, for for recommendations. They just have pool of all like a lot of different brands and different countries. They're truly amazing. Yeah.
That's fantastic. No, that really is. And do you find, are there companies that you like just would you say a lot of the main companies all have this common issue? Like, is it just any big brand that has all of that pretty much all the big hubs that they carry these issues, or does it vary company to company?
What issues were we talking about again?
Like with general PFAs, toxins, like just the way they manufacture, distribute. There's certain like, big level company, are they all in a similar boat?
Generally the cheaper the clothes are, the worst it is when it comes to chemicals. uh I heard actually when I was reading the book that's called To Die For. It's about chemicals in fashion industry. They said that H&M is actually not so bad when it comes to chemicals. So it's one of the fast fashion brands that it's not too bad. But generally, yes, the cheaper it is, and you can actually smell it. So when you go into the cheap clothing stores, the smell hits you right away. Right?
Wow. Wow.
That great like indicator, if the chemical smell of the clothes.
Yes, yes.
Yeah.
That's fantastic. So like, you can tell not only by, the big brands how cheap they're keeping it, how much they produce, but even the smell of walking into the store. I mean,
Yeah.
that's
Or opening the package. Yeah, and more sensitive groups would feel it right away, like people who would get a rash on their skin, or some of the symptoms you would never even notice because it would be a headache. How would you link headache to a t-shirt you're wearing, or asthma, or
you
that's
know,
why it's such a big issue, because it's really hard to track you certain symptoms to chemical exposure.
I mean, that's crazy. People don't even understand, like with PFAs, every time you wash it, every
Yeah.
wash, not even what's happening to you, but what's going
Mhm.
back into the water, what's going back into the system. Like it's just damaging on all fronts, how it's made, who it's made by, how it's
Mhm.
distributed, it's going to, and then where it's going after. The whole system is messed
Yeah.
up.
And
Yeah.
also, a lot of times people think that after a couple of washes, the chemicals will just wash away, but it's not true. Like a lot of these chemicals, they stay forever in your clothes. That's why they call forever chemicals, some of them, and in the environment.
And do you think like they get activated even more if you sweat or like, for example, like Lululemon, it's $46.7 billion annually. They have horrible ways that they make it. They have nothing to do with yoga clothing and they're
Mhm.
made with PFAs and they're so expensive and they're bad for you. It's just like, it's just damaging across the board. And they're supposed, and if
Yeah.
you're going to call yourself yoga clothing, it's like there's some ethics that come with if you're going to use the term yoga, and it's just
Mhm.
interesting that it has nothing to do with yoga and it's more harming than ever,
Yeah.
so I know that with sweat, like if it sweats in that clothing, it can release even more of the chemical. I don't know if you know anything on that front, like if you sweat.
I don't know specifically, like yeah, you have to go in deep with each chemical. I just know that it's the cheaper the clothes, the worse. But it doesn't necessarily mean if the clothes are expensive that that doesn't contain all these harmful chemicals. And generally, actually, the brighter the color is, the more chemically intense it is. Uh, yeah. What else? If it has wrinkle resistant qualities, sweat resistant, the more like they add to it. That's why usually the attendants are the ones that have horrible reactions to their uniforms, because the uniforms they have to be the stain resistant, wrinkle resistant, fire resistant, so they are like sprayed with so many chemicals on top of like super cheap materials, that flight attendants are usually the ones who like hurting the most. And they had a lot of like lawsuits going on in Alaska area, I believe, and they had to actually go and change their uniforms to something slightly better. But
Oh,
it down to the cost for how it goes, and there's like the cutting cost and on everything possible. And so yeah, so
so many
yeah, they
people know this.
weren't
Like,
necessarily.
I'm
Uh-huh.
so sorry. Go ahead. There's a lag. I'm so sorry. Please go ahead.
No, it's okay, I forgot.
Oh, no, no. You were talking about Alaska and like, just the Alaskan Airlines change.
Air flight attendants. There was a big case when the flight attendants would just get so sick. Some of them would like literally like get in hospitals with asthma, and like with the rashes would get so bad because they're constantly wearing their uniforms and they're sleeping next to these uniforms. So it's not just wearing, it's even breathing the fumes can be harmful for you.
I mean, so many people don't know this. Do you know what I mean? They're just discovering these things about food, right? About
Yeah.
chemicals, food, soil, how it's made. But people don't understand that the clothing is just as harmful. The
Hmm.
products, everything.
Yeah.
So many people
And
do
and
this.
we are wondering why we're getting so sick. We're so sick. And yeah, I think somebody was asking me the other day, I'm like, we are just surrounded by these toxic chemicals, basically.
One of your posts even talked about the microplastics. You know what I mean? Like it's
Hmm.
on the
Yeah.
microplastics. And it, so many people don't know, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, it's like, this isn't just a myth, and like environmentalists are talking about stuff just to make people feel a certain way, hashtag global warming. It's like, this is real stuff. Like, it could not be more real, you know?
Yeah.
And it's sad that we have to care enough, because obviously most of the damage is being done by these big corporations and these big companies who are not held accountable, and literally can keep on doing what they're doing, and make so much profit as well off of it. So it's like, people have to care enough to not buy,
Mhm.
to know where to buy, to where to put their money, to get less. And if they're going to get something, either reuse or go to thrift shops and vintage, or get something more ethical and sustainable. Like, it's crazy. It's really sad.
That's why I feel like education is the key. The more people know about it, the more like it shapes the consumer behavior. And yeah, knowledge is the key, because I know
Absolutely.
it's so nice to not know everything, because it feels much better if you don't know anything. But
That's sad. That's a sad thing. You're right. It's like, I don't think ignorance is bliss. I've never liked that phrase, because it's like, the sad truth is there. It's happening whether you like it or
more
not.
comfort, more comfortable not to know, and people like feel comfortable. That's our brain likes to be comfortable.
Yes, and I understand. Look, those people who are struggling every day to make money, who are struggling to survive, who are at the end of, the earning chain, I understand that we're not built in a system now, this is the way the system is made in the capitalist system. It's not, it doesn't allow for them to care. You have to go out of your way to care. It's not part of the regular system. So I completely understand people who are struggling to survive. They cannot they don't have that privilege. But the rest of us that,
Mhm.
have basics and we can choose where to purchase and what to do. It's sad
Absolutely.
we have to go out of our way. Sorry, go ahead.
Absolutely. That's why I'm trying to tell people. I'm being accused all the time on blaming the consumer, and we should be blaming the big companies and the government. Yes, but we as consumer can shift the system, and we have a power. It's like, that's, yeah.
Exactly. I'm so glad you said that, because people love to point fingers everywhere else, right? It's like, it's not me. It's like, sure, the bigger corporations are the one who are doing this, but at the end of the day, indirectly or directly, you are a part of the system. Unless you're choosing
Yeah.
to live somewhere and make your own clothes and grow your own food and be on your own, you are unfortunately a part of the system. So we do have a responsibility. If we're paying for something, if we're buying something, indirectly or directly, we are.
You vote. You vote with your money. Yeah.
No, no, go ahead. Sorry.
I said you vote with your money. That's absolutely true. Yeah.
Yeah, and I feel like they they capitalize off of our ignorance. The more ignorant we are, the more we don't know, the more comfortable we are, the more money they make. And so it's like
And yeah, and like I told many times to my followers, like, companies will make whatever you want them to make. They just care about selling. So if you tell them to sell me something in paper instead of plastic, they will happily do it if there are enough customers for that. So
exactly. If enough voices go for that cause, they will go. But it's sad that it has to be the other way around. And it's not like, absolutely, I'm so glad you brought that up. It's not like you're blaming anyone, but you're just saying, hey, we all have a accountability, we have a responsibility as individuals, where our money is going, what we're buying. We do have to understand the process and what it is that we're getting and what it goes through, whether it's
yeah.
for ourselves, our family, for the planet, like the resources, everything, and so that's really, really important. And I'm really glad that you brought that up, that that's what you get in your comments, because that's a very real thing. And it's like, no, we are a part of it. We are a part of the
Yeah.
system. So absolutely. So I was gonna ask, like, last time we spoke, you mentioned that you're kind of an introvert. So what was your process for you to go from like having all this knowledge and like being an introvert to like, I mean, your content is great online, and I mean, you do, you have characters and you act and you do the whole thing. So what was your process for you, like going from that to being like, okay, now I'm gonna do content, all on social media? Yeah.
Well, it's just getting out of your comfort zone. And in the beginning, it would take me so much anxiety to post a little post on something, so much anxiety. Like I wouldn't sleep at night. I'll try to talk myself out of it. Nobody cares. Who do you think you are? And, nobody cares about these issues or what you have to say. And just constantly getting out of the comfort zone and remembering why I'm doing this. The bigger picture is more important than just my fears. So it's constantly just getting out of my comfort zone. This is out of my comfort zone, what I'm doing right now. And I was like, oh, I have to do it. Like, it's not something that I like truly enjoy, but in the process, I love it. Like right now we're having such a great time, right? But just like, yes.
Just preparing for it. It's sometimes we get in our head.
If you want to achieve something, you have to get out of your comfort zone. Yeah.
Yeah. And I have to let you know you're doing a great job. Even when I met you last time, like you just need to be comfortable, focus on, as long as you're like, hey, I'm here, take some moment, take a few breaths. And it's just about you being you. And like you said, your message is so important. Your message is bigger picture. Your message is what you're trying to get across and what you have been doing through your work. So that's the reason why I'm here. You know what I mean? And so it's because of what that trumps everything. So I think that
Yeah.
that's cool that for you, it like got you from being where you were at to being like, okay, I'm doing this. We're doing this. And that's so wonderful. That's not easy. I don't think people understand like
Yeah,
it's not easy.
if English is not, it's not my first language, right? So in the beginning, and I do make a lot of grammar mistakes, and I was very shy about my English and my accent, and then it's the same thing. Some people would like specifically comment, you made this mistake or that mistake, and that would just set me back for like a week. And so just by doing it more and more and more, you get more comfortable with doing so that you know
And this was in the comment section, like in the comments of your post, you'd see this.
and yes, comments or commenting in my stories, you made,
Wow.
I don't know, some people are grammar police, I call them.
Yeah, no, thank you for bringing that up because, like you said, this is your second language, and like people don't understand you're doing this work. Like, imagine if you had to do it in a completely different language, like this work that you're doing because you're in that country, or you're doing it in that medium, and it's like your message is the most important. And are you better with it now with the comments? Like, does it not bother you as much anymore? Like, are you more confident with, or do you take it as a learning thing? Like, how do you deal with the comments now? Is it just as hard, or has it?
uh well, I try not to read comments on my viral posts, because if you have, with unfortunately with a lot of views, the haters
A lot of
come.
comments. Yes, yeah, exactly.
The more popular the post is, I just stop reading comments. And if I do read a comment, and yes, I try to treat it as a learning experience. Like, how can I get myself out of this like discomfort, like reading these messages? I feel like it's more on like work on me than anything else. So
Yeah, yeah, no, but but I hope that you would take it like, not to heart, not personally. You know what I mean? Because I just
I try. Well, that's why I try not to read, because that's a hard one for me. When you read 20, 30 negative messages per day, it really affects you. No matter how strong you are, people would just say, hey, just don't, why you bother? No, I mean, like, anybody would care. Like, it's uh, yeah, so I just try not to read it, and I just try to be stronger and remember why I'm doing this. And just remember, if you have a pool of million people viewing your content, there's going to be a lot of people who disagree with you. It is what it is. You're not going to please everybody. Not everybody is going to understand your message. uh,
People
So
always
as
find something to
yeah,
critique.
get better.
Yeah, sorry, go ahead.
No, I'm just saying with time I just get better and
Yeah,
stronger.
yeah,
That
yeah. Well,
yeah.
people always find something to critique. That is
Yeah.
for but I just want to let you know that you understand you and you speak just wonderfully. So you must know, you must know
Mission.
you're smooth. You're smooth. So, nothing much over there. And you mentioned that you're from Ukraine, and we talked about this a bit last time too. The cultural differences that you've found, being from where you're from and then here. And we talked about both of ours, like our upbringing and our backgrounds, how that influenced also how we saw things because my mother and the background that I come from, it's like also like very much about naturally about sustainability. Like sustainability isn't something that you think twice about. It's like being sustainable is the norm. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And so we were talking about that a little bit last time and how maybe that was quite jarring for you when you came here and you just were like, what is this over? Like, what is going on? It's a bit
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I always said it's like it's not sustainability, just common sense, and this is how it used to be forever until recently, here. And even going back to Ukraine, it's not the same place I left when everything was reused and reduced, and we were like really mindful about buying things. And I got to US and everything is basically single used, and everything is in big amounts. Like you're never going to use like that the cream that you buy. Just everything is these huge packages, and everything is just yeah, I thought it was ridiculous, and then you get used to it. And then it becomes a norm. And then talking to my friends who grew up here, like they don't know any difference. It's weird for me and you, but for people who grew up here, especially like under 30, it's just the way of living. And that's why a lot of people don't understand. So a lot of people are like, so what is my choice when if not buying water in plastic bottles? Like there was a comment the other day on my post. I'm like, what do you mean? How did we used to live without single-use plastic before? It's
no,
not that old.
absolutely, absolutely. And like we talked about last time, I was born and raised here, but I very much was, my mother and father really did, ingrain our culture. And so even this is like the norm part of sustainability. It's not called sustainability, it's just the norm, as I said.
The
But
norm, yeah.
yeah, but we don't even have a word for it. It's just the way, the way you live. But what's crazy is I remember when I was a lot younger, like other people in the States would make fun of people who would reuse things, or it was seen as being cheap, or
Yeah.
that, you were not wanting to spend as much. And it wasn't that, it was
Or
before. Exactly. And I think that's crazy because, it's like my mom, we didn't have a lot of money by any means, but it was never about that. It was like, it was just harming less, doing less. She, even to this day,
Mhm.
she takes some of the water from some of the stuff that like from grains and things like that. And
Mhm.
instead of throwing it away right in the wash, in the sink, she takes that water, she collects it in her pail, and she knows like if she takes off of some of the fruit, insides of the fruit, the banana skin, things like that with the water, and she feeds it as like plant food.
Nutrient, definitely. I do that too.
Exactly. And so like, and so many immigrant families and other people, we are so used to like reusing we used to
Job.
obviously, yeah, exactly. Like nothing's in the same, like nothing's in the actual container of what the container says. You know what I mean? Like that one. And like obviously we're not trying to use plastic because we know the harms now, but back in the day, like that's all they knew was like you don't throw something away right away. You reuse it, or you find the best way. And then even when you dispose of it, you dispose of it cleanly. You just don't throw it in the trash. You clean it, you put in like it's honestly like manners and respect. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
For
Yeah.
the cycle.
For just your natural world and your surrounding, and it's just I don't know, I don't like wasting things. It's like makes me really uncomfortable.
Exactly, exactly. And also when you come from various backgrounds, I think there's also more humility and an understanding that you don't have excess all the time, and it shouldn't be that way, you know.
Yeah.
And so it is kind of crazy, but you're right that, you know, when you are around it a lot of the time, you get used to it. So you have to almost like just because everybody else is, it's like, wait, take a you. Even when I say people take napkins in the store, like fast food, or they take something and throw it away right away. You know, they grab like, it's like one item that they took and they grab like 50 napkins. And I'm like, but why? Why do we need like, you know what I mean? Like if you had to carry, have you seen this artist who did this study? He carried like all of his trash for a year. He accumulated, he carried it in a bag and he took pictures of it, like what it looked like at the end of the year to carry his own trash. And so if
I haven't seen.
yeah, so it's beautiful. It's really wonderful work. I'll try to, I don't know the artist's name, but he photographed like, you know, what it looked like after a year and carrying it around and what you would have,
Yeah.
how much people would reduce if they had to carry their own trash. Or in other countries, you have to pay for your own trash by the pound or by the kilo, sorry. You know, like if it's wet trash or dry trash. So it's just, yeah, I'm just
And
glad.
it also comes with, you know, we have great disposal system here in the US. So you don't see how much you throw away. Like you don't see like out of sight, out of mind. We think that it's, you know, we have no trash, everything is so clean, but we are the ones who produce the most trash in the world, you know, Western countries, US and Canada and, you know, European countries.
Thank you so much for bringing that up. Yes, because I believe at least the stat I read somewhere was around America produces over 50% of the world's trash and is less than 10% of the world's population. And you're
Yeah.
so right that you know, the trash is hidden from us, but somebody's paying the price, whether it's being exported to you know, other countries and they have to take the hit, or it's affecting their indigenous communities through pollution,
Yeah.
or it's in going in the landfills, which ultimately seeps into our groundwater and affects us in the long run. So it's
Yeah.
like,
And the US loves to just export their trash to other countries. And I see how so many Americans are like, oh, these are the countries that they're like they're dirty. I'm like, no, because we send a lot of our trash to these countries, a lot of plastic. Like now these countries like finally stop accepting a lot of this plastic, and they like ship it back and forth until it like ends up in the ocean because nobody wants it.
thank
Yeah.
you. Yes,
Yeah.
and I also, this reminded me of something we were talking about earlier, which is where I say this because, and a lot of the European, Western, like, you know, well, mainly the white countries or colonizing countries, unfortunately, are the ones who set the standard of like quick consumption, temporary use for profit, and hurting the land, right? Like conquering
Mm,
mentality rather than working with the land and being of the land. And so they did so much damage in such a short amount of time. And so, like, if even before the Industrial Revolution onward, they created so much pollution. And so by the time the other countries around the world who've been exploited and, you know, colonized for the most part or extorted in some way, they're trying to keep up with the Western world. And so now everyone's like, oh, look at the carbon footprint that you guys are emitting. And it's like, what have you guys been doing for the past 200, 300 years? And now you're going off of other countries who are taking your hits to begin with.
yeah.
And now you're questioning their carbon footprint and their, you know, what their output is right now. It's very, very interesting to me because, you know, you guys have already done so much harm, you know, to
Mm,
begin with. And I don't know if you know this stat. I'll get the book. It's my brother told me the book's name. But in America, North America, only today, 4% of trees remain of the amount of trees that actually existed like just about 300 years ago, 304.
yeah. Yeah. Same goes for wildlife and everything else that that lived in the trees.
It's crazy because when you go to a national park today in the States, I mean, the amount of trees, it's beautiful. It's so many. You feel like there's so much here. And to know that this is only 4%, even the redwoods in Northern California, they're only 4% of how many redwoods actually existed.
Yeah.
Like, that's insane. It's
Same same goes for wildlife statistics. If you look at the numbers, it's really sad. We have more domestic animals to feed humans than we have wild animals.
exactly. And the speciesism I'm not even going to get into, right? Like looking at certain animals a certain way and then looking at other animals just for produce. You know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
the that that conversation alone is, it's very sad.
And what we don't understand is like how we depend on the whole ecosystem. That's what we really disconnected ourselves from the nature, and I think it's really dumb of us, because if we think that we're smarter or than nature or better than, or we just can trick it, it's just not going to work, as we can see now with global warming.
I mean, we're made of the elements. We're made of water. We're made of soil. We need the sun. We need air. If
Yeah.
those are poison, we are going to be
Yeah.
poisoned. Like
Yeah.
it's that.
Well, but it also depends on all the living things on around us. You know, on every little bug. It's all part of the system.
Exactly.
On the bee, and like something that we don't understand. We really dependent on every little creature around us.
It's eco, not ego, right?
Yeah.
And that understanding is so important, that no being is higher than humans. Like no, or sorry, no humans aren't higher. I meant the other way. Humans
They're
are not.
part of this. They're not on the top of the pyramid or something like that.
Exactly. And it's sad that like, so many of the indigenous activists and the fighters are the first on the front line. They're less than 1% of the world's population, but they're about 90 to 95% actively involved in the fight for nature. And that just speaks.
Because they're more connected than us. They understand the importance. We really disconnected ourselves. So like most of the world's population lives in the cities. So that really like this.
But that's not a mystery, right? Because it's whoever the conquerors were, their way survived. That's the way that wins, right? Guns, germs, and steel. Like that's the one that executes what the narrative be. Yeah. So, yeah, I mean, we could have conversations on one topic and just keep going, right? Just it could just there like it would not stop. You've already recommended some really good like websites and things. Are there any documentaries or books that you came across that you were like, oh my God, people read this, like this is amazing?
The books I would have, I'm really bad with the names. I can give you the list of the names.
Okay, no problem. Yeah, like I'll give you the list and I'll attach it in the bottom in the caption section. I'll be like,
I like to read all kinds like varieties. So the last one good book was on the To Die For. It's about chemicals in the fashion industry. And then I thought it was a really interesting book on I forgot the author, but how the world works. It actually explains, because I feel like also a lot of activists, environmentalists don't understand the extent of our dependence on fossil fuels, and that it's like we can't just drop it. It's very important to do what we are doing, and we should have started doing that, probably 70 years ago. But the how we actually depended on plastics, on fossil fuels, our whole like food system is dependent. It's a great book to educate yourself. There are a couple on sustainability that I would like to recommend, but I don't remember the names. I will give you the list later. When it comes to documentaries, what is the one that everybody knows about on fast fashion?
I feel like I know which one you're talking about. I also cannot remember the name, but let me see. I will find it. Yes, because otherwise it's gonna stay in our brain, and then we won't be able to get it out of the brain. What is it? What is it? Documentary. Is it the True Cost?
True Cost, yes, the True Cost.
Okay.
The True Cost is a great one. And then if you want to learn more about leather industry, it's called Slay.
Okay.
It's a really good educational one. I don't know, it's just the
Sure.
famous ones, Conspiracy, Seaspiracy are the good.
I'm familiar with that one. Yep.
Our Planet is a great one to just educate yourself on like all these ecosystems and how we depend. I really love how they explain in the end, like how it's not just pretty animals that we are watching on TV, and it's how we depend on each other and how we are actually like really destroying their habitat and destroying this beautiful nature.
What was the name of the last one?
Our Planet.
Okay. Okay. Beautiful. And last time we were talking, you were like, I'm gonna save this for when we're talking. You said, we were talking about your goals. I asked you, like what your goals were. Was there anything that you haven't talked about that you wanted to mention? Where would you like this to go? What does your best dream look like? So there was something where you were like, I asked you, like, is there anything that we don't know or something that something about you? And you said, I'm going to share that more when I talk to you next. And if it's your brain, no problem. But is there something like your goals that may be different from this or other parts of you that you do or something that we don't know?
No, I actually think of this as my calling, and whatever this takes me, I just would love to inform as many people as possible. I would love to, what I'm doing right now is working with these amazing sustainable brands, showing people different alternatives, and it's kind of a dream, working, actually getting paid for like showing people better ways of consumption, because I'm a junkie when it comes to that. I love discovering like better brands and better ways of better products, and I love to share that. So that is just like, that's what if I can do that to the rest of my life, I'm a happy person. Yeah.
No, that's
And who knows where it's gonna take me, I don't know. I don't have like huge goals. I really love the process. I really love what I'm doing, and just enjoying my life meanwhile.
that's really amazing because you also have a daughter, right? And is she
Yes.
into the sustainability as much as you, or you educate her, or she even brings up, is she like, does she take it on another level?
She's like really good at I don't know, to her, it's just the way she grew up with, probably with lower waist. And, like I said, I don't, at home it's plant-based food. But she's at the age when she really like gets, she wants to belong to some groups, and teenagers, like they love certain brands, like Lululemon is really popular with the kids. Or like before it was something else that got trends, and as much as I would love to influence her, but I don't want to turn her off, so I try to limit the amount of stuff that she's tried to follow her friends buying. But I don't want to like turn her off about it. So, and I learned that the older she gets, she starts to get like, oh, now like I can, she loves to rewear, like we share clothes now. And now she wants to rent for Halloween costumes. We used to just put together things from my closet and her closet, like last couple of years. Now she wants to like rent clothes, so she's just picking things from me, and I'm not being very pushy about it, because I don't want to just like lecture her on things. I feel like that's the way to go. And as she gets older, she gets more and more like sustainable along with me. But yeah, at this age, they're really influenced by their friends and the trends, unfortunately.
Yeah. Do you think, does she tell, or does she like tell her friends about her mom being on the socials, and like, do
Oh
they
yeah,
on socials
I
and
heard her lecturing some of her friends on like buying like from Shein. Like, do you child labor? Do you know, about this
good,
and that?
so good.
Because she's helping me with content. She was helping me with editing, and so she learns. she learns as we do that
Oh wow.
together.
So is she a part of your videos, like in the making of your videos?
Oh yeah, no, she's helping me with with research of different topics, and that's why I'm doing it intentionally. So she
Smart.
it's the way for her to help me. I'm actually paying her for that
Oh,
when I need her help with editing different posts. But it's a learning process, and I'm doing that intentionally. And so now she's looking at like more sustainable ways of buying things. She's like, oh, maybe I can buy this, but maybe if I can buy it, pre-owned, would that be more sustainable? So she's kind of like coming to this on her own, slowly.
no, that's really great that, how you're involving her. And,
Yeah.
almost like a part-time job, like it's
Hmm.
that's really good. That's
Yeah,
really
and I learned that I don't know about other kids, but with my daughter, if I tell her not to do something, she will be really tempted to do, or not to buy something. It's more like the reverse psychology works better with.
Oh, that's good. You know her. So that's a good way of going about it. But I'm glad that she's kind of on this thing with you because your style is impeccable. Like I watch,
Thank
I'm like, where is she vintage shopping? Like where is her collection from? Like it's really, really, really wonderful. And I wanted to ask you this because so many people online, like even when they ask me with the like because I've done videos on different yoga clothing and things like that, where do I find more ethical clothing? Where do I find and I'm like, there are many brands out there and many people around the world who are doing good work. The problem becomes, unfortunately, because the more sustainable way is not the norm, which is crazy and actually less damaging to the planet, it's unfortunately more expensive to get, the good quality clothing, to get the more sustainable clothing. It's sad that it is, but it is a lot.
Mhm.
So it becomes very hard for the average person who really wants to try. And, of course, we have reusing, we have, thrift stores and all these other options that are great. But are there any specific brands that or websites that you recommend for the brands? Because I know you mentioned the Good on You app to look for more brands, but maybe something that's not as expensive. How do you balance that? Because
Hey, that's my next post. I will do the list of the. I need to do research. I don't have anything on top of my mind, but thrifting is always good way to buy better quality clothes for not too expensive. Although it's like it can be pretty expensive these days. Some brands, like I want to buy something pre-owned, and then I will go on mm, one of the luxury resale companies. What is it called? Oh, I forgot. Anyways, so and you look at the price of pre-owned dress, and it would be like 15% less than buying a new one. So that's why a lot of people are like, it just doesn't make any sense. I would rather buy a new one. And I heard it from a lot of from my friends as well. Be like, I want to do this, but sometimes it's like it just doesn't make any sense. It's
oh,
cheaper, better to buy a new one.
and that's the sad part, right? Is because when you are seeing that it's so much cheaper for new, like
Hmm.
brand, like all these other fast fashion companies, it's really sad because you're probably going to go there for financial reasons or convenience reasons or the fact that
Hmm.
it's just more easily
The
available.
real is the
Yeah,
company.
yeah.
Yeah, yeah, the real. Yeah, so just re- sometimes I tell everybody, and I tell myself, like, you have to go through your closet once in a while, because a lot of times you will forget what you have. You need to
Like
I like to,
rearrange and re-switch around and all of that. Yeah.
yeah, every freaking time I would be like, oh my god, I like this dress again. So shop your closet, and it doesn't cost you anything. rent for occasions. Do not buy occasional dresses. Like I was at a Barbie themed party a couple days ago, and there is no way I'm buying hot pink dress myself, because I know I'm not gonna wear it again and again and again.
Thank you so much for your post on that, because you had
Yeah.
done the effects of what happened with post the Barbie trend. And I was like, thank you, Mila. Thank you.
Yeah.
Because it's so true. People don't understand. Again, damn it, people order something so quick on Amazon, they don't think twice about the packaging, the how it's coming, what the effects are. People are so used to quick convenience that they're
Yeah.
so disconnected from the entire process, of what.
And yes, yes, absolutely. And I was like, that's how I came, this whole the idea for this post came to my mind, because that day I was going to the mall and I'm like, everything is pink, 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 pink. And I watched the movie day before that, and I'm like, this movie is all about like a great message, but it's all about like pushing the trend and selling you crap, so I'm like, just pink madness everywhere. And I know that 2-3 months later the pink color is not going to be in fashion anymore, and all this stuff is going to be in the landfills or whatever.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And like you said before, the more bright the color, the more chemicals and toxins probably in it. So I can only imagine how many toxins that Barbie pink has. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, which leads to the next thing I was going to ask you. Are there any, like, we know some of the basic stuff, like, right, organic cotton, hemp, linen. There's certain materials
Mhm.
that are better, and then there's certain materials that are not so great, that
Mhm.
you try to stay away from. Are there any that that are like big no-nos and like better to fall on, whether it be for our skin or for the environment? Because you have probably more experience than a lot of people on which quality of material is better.
Well, yeah, it's on the scale probably like the recycled or organic, like recycled cotton, recycled cashmere, recycled materials on the top of the list, and then you go to organics, organic cotton, organic hemp, linen, etc. And then yes, and the lowest would be the polyester and everything that's made of fossil fuels. That's what a lot of people don't understand too, that it's plastic. It's plastic.
Starts with plastic, it ends with plastic. Like it's all
Yeah,
plastic.
yeah. It's all part of the huge fossil fuel industry. They need to sell their stuff everywhere, and they will find ways. So yeah, on the bottom of the list would be the materials that are made of fossil fuels, like synthetic materials.
There's some spandex, I'm
And
sure, as well.
scratchy, unfortunately, is and avoid it. But I would just really recommend to buy as little as possible when it comes to that.
That's really the key here. Buy
Yeah,
less. Just
buy less. I'm not telling you not to eat meat or not to buy anything. Just reduce. Please reduce. Reducing. If everybody would just reduce their consumption, it would make a huge difference in the world.
just have to care. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? You have to care. It's not something like, oh, it doesn't affect me. It does. It
but
affects
but
me.
also, like, depending on people, everybody's gonna start caring, I believe. I just see how it is, even in my post comments. Unfortunately, the truth is a lot of people don't care, and they're like, I don't have kids, I'm gonna die, I don't care, screw them. And that's why you need government regulations, because unfortunately you cannot make everybody care, you cannot make everybody go vegan. That's just the fact. And yeah, that's why you need government regulations for that. And
Exactly. And
yeah.
and I'm so glad you pointed that out, because the people that do care have to care. Like it has to be made into law. And the thing is,
Yeah.
unfortunately, lobbyists, there are ways that they can find their loopholes. It's the sad reality, because otherwise they would have already had the regulations. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
Damn.
but that's you need enough people who care to to make that shift and force governments to create these regulations. And that's it's actually happening slowly in Europe. I see Europe is a little bit ahead of US when it comes to with sustainability stuff. They're starting to implement laws for fast fashion. Let's see how it goes, but it's it's a good start. They
No,
have better rates. They recycle their metal. They recycle their paper. On that, even let's not talk about plastic. We just don't have the recycling system they have in Europe, and there's so much waste that could be reused, and economically would actually make better sense to reuse it. Here in the US, yeah, so we have a long ways to go here, but yeah, you have to start somewhere. I'm
no,
not giving up.
I'm so glad. No, and I love that. That's definitely, it's a hard thing, but it's like, it's not going to stop. Mila's like, this is not ending. But I love that I love that you bring this. I'm with you, like straight up. I'm with you. I think when you brought up Europe, I went to Austria this summer. My friend had a wedding there, and I was so amazed at the way that they look. I went to vintage shops, and the way they look
Mhm.
at secondhand fashion, it's cool. It's not seen
Yeah.
as like in America, it's like, oh my God, are you poor? Like that's kind of
Mhm.
downtrodden. It's not looked at well. The
Yeah.
view. Sometimes it's okay, but for the most part, it's like secondhand. Like I don't know about that, but in Europe, I was really amazed at like no, it was like the cool thing. Like oh, I got
Yeah.
was almost something to be proud about. And I was like,
Yeah.
wow, the view there is so, and I got all my pieces were from vintage stores. It was from secondhand
Mhm.
fashion, a few things that I got quite inexpensive, so easily affordable. Also, tailors are a lot easy. It's the same in India. Tailoring is so much easier to get done. But I got these beautiful outfits, and everybody's just been like, wow, that looks amazing. And they're all from secondhand stores. And I love this attitude that I saw in Europe.
Yeah. It's slowly starting to shift here in the US because statistically, the secondhand platforms are like gaining more, just becoming more popular. So it's shifting, but yeah, Europe is less definitely slightly ahead of us. They have France. What other countries that ban single-use plastics? So they're moving faster than us when it comes to that. But yeah, it's moving very slowly, but moving.
I didn't know how popular it was. Like I was really amazed. I thought that was so cool. I
Oh
was
yeah,
like,
it's a cool vintage. Some vintage jacket is it's considered to be a cool thing. Like
yeah,
here, yeah,
exactly. Like it's huge in Germany. I think the trend is like really big in Germany, and it like is in Austria, and it's kind of like spread out. And I thought that was I was like, that's a trend that should be popular. I was like, that's a good one. That's great. Is there I wanted to ask you also, is there anything that people may not know about you that you'd like to share? Is there something that like maybe
probably a lot. I myself slowly.
So
uh,
I was like, because some people are curious then, or they'd be surprised to know about you that they may not have known.
hmm, I don't know.
If not,
Probably a lot. No.
fine, no worries. Are there any hobbies
uh,
you do that would totally shock us?
totally shock you. I don't
No,
want
it
to totally
doesn't
shock
have
you.
to. It doesn't have to. I'm just being funny. No, like, but are there, is this like most of your work, or are there any hobbies or interests that you have as well? Or is it all kind of connected to nature and sustainability? Because I know you're in a beautiful nature.
I mean, even Instagram takes a lot of my time, but I am helping my husband with his consulting company as well. So, and my daughter is with all her sports. She's involved in a lot of sports, so she has practices all the time, and yeah, that's my life. And I go between Lake Tahoe, where I live, and the Bay Area. Uh, Here and there because I have a lot of friends there. I'm going to be there. My parents live there, so I'm kind of in between these two areas.
Oh
That's
wow.
people are confused if I live like in San Francisco or South Bay, but yeah, because I'm here and there all the time.
That's great.
Yeah, it's very good balance for me. It's very quiet here, like a lot of entertainment out there and a lot of friends that are like I've been friends with for 10-15 years. So that's
Wow.
yeah.
Well, and so, it's love, like you said, you have this nice bit of nature and then you also have the city, like,
Yeah, yeah,
which is, yeah, that is nice to get both.
yeah. To like two sides of my personality. Like I either like it to be really, really quiet, and sometimes I don't leave my house for like days, other than walk outside or going for a run. And if I'm out, I'm really out.
I can completely relate to that. I think that is how I operate as well, honestly. Yeah, it's beautiful. I know the Bay a little bit too because I did my part of my undergrad at UC Berkeley, so I love the
Oh,
Bay.
okay.
It has its own charm. That I got up there. And if like is there like any message that I mean, I already know your message is like to reduce the best way that you can. But is there anything else that you'd like to share with us, or something that you feel is super important that people should know?
Just if we all learn to be mindful and think before like clicking that purchase, asking yourself questions, do I really need it? That goes for reducing, right? And also, I don't know, it's just understanding that everybody's action matter, because that's a lot of times I hear that people are like, oh, if I'm gonna do it and the rest of the people don't do it, then it doesn't make any sense. Why should I do it?
And
And
yeah, yeah.
understanding that it's a ripple effect. Whatever you do, people around you will it's contagious, right? Your behavior is contagious. So that's what's very important to know, that every action you do, every product you buy or don't buy really, really matters, because a lot of times people don't think it matters. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Everything you do. Yeah.
Sorry, everything you do what?
Everything you do, everything every day, everything you do matters, and it really like spreads like a wildfire. So we all influence each other, right? We all influencers in everyday life. We influence our family, we influence our friends. So let's just let's just go for better choices, or let's educate other people about negative effects of this and that. Really, really, like, just be mindful that everything you do matters. And yeah.
Well, Mila, thank you so much. Is there anything else that you'd like to share or ask or comment or anything at all?
Oh, I'm really like
No,
feeling hot
no,
right
fine. This is comfortable. It's just you and me.
now.
It's really,
I think we touched a lot of topics.
yeah.
I don't know. I don't know. I don't have any questions.
No, I think thank you so much.
For for contacting me and doing this with me, because otherwise, again, it's out of my comfort zone and I wouldn't do it on my own. But thank you for doing this right now with me. And like I said, everything we do matters. We More people gonna see this, and so it's thank you. Thank you.
Oh, my pleasure, because I'm going to say that it goes back to you because of the work that you're doing. And I tell you, I share your videos at least once a day. I'm like, Mila's 3 videos are going on my story today. Because, and like, if I had to explain to someone, I'm like, instead of explaining, just watch Mila's video. Instead of Mila's video is that's it. This is what we're talking about. Thank you, Mila. So like I said, when I came across, I was like, thank you, because, you know, people need to know. And like I said, people may not care as much, but if they just see that this is made with this, and this, or if they're aware, hopefully that will just change the product that they're buying or where they're buying it from. And I think that, or
Yeah.
hopefully changes their perspective about it.
I
So
these reminders for myself too, because sometimes I feel like, I have my down moments as well. Like I have my high moments. I have like where content is just like I create so much content in a short period of time, and then I get into this mode where I'm like, oh, nothing I do matters. And so it's not that I always so enthusiastic and hopeful about the future. No, so I have my ups and downs too, and but it's really important to don't give up, don't stop, and just we don't have any other choice. I mean, like giving up is not a choice. It's just like not what we should be doing.
yeah, it's not an
Yeah,
option. Oh,
yeah,
I thank you for sharing that, because I think enough people don't understand that this is exhausting work.
yeah.
It's fun to I mentioned this about the work that I talk about too, that like it's not fun to like, I don't want to be talking about this. I want you guys to just know that it's not good. Like do your own research, but I know that this will need it in a more digestible, entertaining way to understand
Mhm.
what's going on, and hopefully that makes a difference. So please no.
Not bad, but constantly reading about negative effects of this and that, or fashion, or plastics, or global warming. It's really like it puts you in the depressive mode sometimes. That's why I need to sometimes get away and like just be out of like, don't use my phone for some time. I don't want to do any research on this part because it's depressing. The more you know how like bad situation is, and it's like really affects you. So
Yeah, it's draining. It's beyond
it's
draining. It's
draining. Yeah, it can be draining.
it's so incredibly draining. And you know, with like the background that I was talking to you, that I was raised in from when I was little, we were aware of a lot of these things, and I became to be, as I read just like you and learned more, I also became more aware, and it just almost seems hopeless sometimes. Like,
Yeah,
is it actually going to change or make a significant difference? But I think you hit the nail earlier when you said giving up is not an option. Like it's not an
yeah.
option. I mean,
Yeah,
because
it doesn't make sense. If we all give up, then we have zero chances for a better future, right? If we try, we may succeed, we may not succeed. At least it's like we have chance, right? But because a lot of people are like losing hope, and that's what I the message is, please, that giving up is not an option. It's not an option. So let's just keep going. I know it's depressing and can be very overwhelming, and the problems that we touch are like very big and global, and feels like we nothing we do matters, but it does. Let's just keep fighting.
yes, yeah, and thank you. And we're actually bringing it full circle to the very end of how we started, which is, again, it goes back to just making something a habit. Just takes a little bit of time, but once it becomes a habit, it's second nature. Like you don't even have to
Yeah,
think about it too much.
yeah,
People think there's too many things, so they feel like, it's just better if I can't do all of that, rather than
yeah.
just like
Yeah, yeah.
one thing at a time, or learning something new, or looking at something like this is an opportunity to grow. Like
And
how
that's why, yeah, that's
please.
why community is so important. Like social support is important. Even for me, I'm doing this also for myself. I need this constant reminder that you can do better. We can do better. I can learn new better habits, and I can like get rid of the bad habits. And it's all like that's why community is super super important for that.
Yeah, no, you can't do it alone. That
Yeah,
I mean, certain things you can do videos and stuff like that, but community, definitely, definitely. That's what, hopefully, the word community, right? It's there to be together to help. So again, thank you so much. I'm gonna end the
thank
recording now, so that way now it's off of the recording.